It was a Tuesday morning, and the courtroom was buzzing with the usual chaos. Lawyers shuffling papers, people whispering, and the faint hum of the air conditioner trying to keep the tension at bay. I was sitting in the back, waiting for my turn. My name is Tasha, and I was there for a traffic violation. Something minor, but the kind of thing that could still mess up your day if it went the wrong way. I wasn't worried, though. I'd been through worse. Still, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in my gut as I watched the judge interact with the people before me. He was a middle-aged man with a stern face and a sharp tongue. To some, he was polite, almost friendly. To others, he was dismissive, cutting them off mid-sentence with a wave of his hand. But to a few, mostly people who looked like me, he was downright rude. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, that I was reading too much into it. But deep down, I knew better. When my name was called, I stood up, smoothed out my blazer, and walked to the stand. My heart was pounding, but I kept my head high. I've always been taught to respect the law, to believe in fairness and justice. But something about the way the judge looked at me made my stomach twist. He glanced at me over his glasses, his lips curling into a smirk. "Another one?" he muttered under his breath, loud enough for me to hear. The room went quiet. I felt my face flush, but I kept my composure. I knew what he meant. I'd heard it before. Those subtle digs, the assumptions people make because of the color of my skin. It wasn't the first time, and I doubted it would be the last. But today, I wasn't going to let it slide. "Your Honor," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'd like to explain." He cut me off with a laugh. A real, dismissive laugh that echoed through the courtroom. "Explain what? That you didn't see the stop sign? That you were in a hurry?" He leaned back in his chair, shaking his head like I was some kind of joke. "Seems like we hear the same story every day." I felt my hands clench into fists at my sides. I wanted to say something to defend myself, but I knew it wouldn't help. Instead, I took a deep breath and reached into my bag. I pulled out my badge and placed it on the stand in front of me. The room went dead silent. The judge froze. His smirk disappeared, and his eyes widened as he stared at the badge. It was my United States Secret Service badge, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. I've been an agent for 5 years, and I've never had to use my badge like this, but today it felt necessary. "Your Honor," I said, my voice calm but firm, "I may be here for a traffic violation, but that doesn't give you the right to disrespect me. I serve this country just like you do, and I expect to be treated with the same respect." For a moment, no one moved. The judge's face turned red, and he cleared his throat, clearly flustered. I apologize, Agent," he stammered. "That was out of line." I nodded, picking up my badge and slipping it back into my bag. The rest of the hearing was a blur. The judge was suddenly polite, almost overly so, and my case was dismissed quickly. But as I walked out of the courtroom, I couldn't shake the mix of emotions swirling inside me. I felt proud for standing up for myself, but also sad that it had to come to that. Why did I have to prove my worth just to be treated with basic respect? It wasn't about the badge, it was about the principle. No one should have to go through what I did. No one should have to feel small just because of how they look or where they come from. As I stepped outside into the sunlight, I took a deep breath. The world kept moving, just like it always does. Cars honked, people hurried by, and life went on. But for a moment, in that courtroom, justice had spoken louder than prejudice, and that was enough to keep me going. I got into my car and sat there for a while, just thinking. I thought about all the times I'd been underestimated, all the times I'd had to work twice as hard to prove myself. I thought about the people who didn't have a badge to flash, who didn't have a voice loud enough to be heard. And I made a promise to myself to keep fighting, not just for me, but for them too. Because at the end of the day, justice isn't just about laws and rules. It's about respect, dignity, and the belief that everyone deserves to be treated fairly. And if I could help remind even one person of that, then it was all worth it. As I drove home, my mind kept replaying the scene in the courtroom. The judge's smirk, the way he laughed, the way his tone changed the moment he saw my badge. It wasn't just about me. It was about every person who had ever been made to feel small because of who they are. I thought about my parents, who had worked so hard to give me a better life. I thought about my little brother, who looked up to me and believed in me no matter what. And I thought about all the people who didn't have the platform or the power to speak up when they were treated unfairly. When I got home, I sat down at my kitchen table and just stared out the window for a while. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden light over everything. It was peaceful, but my mind was anything but calm. I kept thinking about what I could do to make a difference. I didn't want to just let this moment pass and move on like nothing had happened. I wanted to use it as a catalyst for change. I decided to write about my experience. Not just for me, but for anyone who had ever felt invisible or disrespected. I wanted to remind people that justice isn't just about the law. It's about how we treat each other every single day. It's about seeing people for who they are, not just what they look like or where they come from. I spent the next few hours typing out my thoughts, pouring my heart into every word. When I was done, I felt a sense of relief, like I had finally released something that had been weighing me down for far too long. I knew my story wouldn't change the world overnight, but if it could inspire even one person to stand up for themselves or to treat others with more kindness and respect, then it was worth it. The next day, I shared my story online. I didn't expect much of a response, but to my surprise, it started to spread. People from all walks of life reached out to me, sharing their own experiences and thanking me for speaking up. It was overwhelming, but it also gave me hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, we could start to make things better. As the days went by, I thought a lot about what had happened in that courtroom. It wasn't just a moment of personal victory. It was a reminder of why I became a Secret Service agent in the first place. To protect and serve, not just in the big moments, but in the small ones too. To stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. And as I look back on that day, I realized something important. Justice isn't just something that happens in a courtroom. It's something we create every day, in the way we treat each other, and the way we stand up for what's right. And if we all do our part, maybe one day, stories like mine won't have to be told anymore. Maybe one day, justice will truly be blind and fair for everyone. Hey everyone, if this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you why we need to keep having these conversations, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps spread awareness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something like this? Let's talk about it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here to share real, powerful stories that need to be heard. Lastly, share this with your friends and family. The more people who see this, the more we can bring awareness and change. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Let's keep pushing forward, together.